Hi, Linda Sessions here, and welcome to week 2 in business communications. Week 1, I'm sure, was a little crazy for you. Week 1s usually are. You're getting used to being back to school, being a student again, getting the assignments done on time. A lot of you work, and so you're like, I'm going to have to wait till the weekend to do the assignments, and then you look at my class and you're like, the assignments are due Saturday, but I only have Saturday and Sunday to work on assignments. So hopefully you can figure out how to work your schedule around so that you can get them turned in on time. Reach out to me if you have any questions, if you have some really big concerns about anything as far as the class goes. During week 1, let's go into the class here and take a look at it. Here we go. Let's see, this is module 2. Let's come up here, module 1. You reviewed your grammar in mechanics. What did you find out about it? I know the first time I took this, I was like, as I said in my video before, I haven't had grammar like that since probably, well, when I went to school, it was called junior high. But a lot of the stuff I knew, and it was just stuff that I had been taken for granted. The more you review your grammar, the better the writer you're going to be. The other thing that has always been brought to my attention is the more you read, the better your grammar and your communication skills are going to be. So if you can just read one article a day out of the newspaper or from even on the internet, Business Weekly or something like that, some of the articles, just read the writing styles. It's going to help your communication style as well, so don't forget that. So you looked at the first chapter, which was Introduction to Business Communication and Character. How does that apply? And then you had your Learn It, Apply It, and your practice quiz. Now here in Module 2, we continue on with that theme of communicating character and building relationships. And in Chapter 2, you're going to be looking at team and interpersonal communication as well as communicating across differences. So what do we mean by these two different topics? So here, I've got the textbook open here. And here, Chapter 2, the different areas in Chapter 2 that you're looking at are the work team communication, the virtual team communication, two different things. I'm doing a lot of remote work this semester, so I've got some remote team meetings, and it's real easy to get to think I can multitask when you're in a remote meeting and stuff, and you really don't want to. You need to focus on what's going on your computer monitors. It's just really easy to get lost in those meetings. So how do you communicate virtually? Collaborative writing. If you in a group and you've got more than one person writing, how do you get that together so it just looks like one person wrote that, not like 5 different people wrote it, because we all have our own different writing styles. Business meetings, nonverbal communication, that is very important. Is somebody looking at you? And listening. Listening to learn, listening to pay attention, listening to hear what the person is saying. All of that's going to be covered here in Chapter 2. Lots of good hard facts. Then in Chapter 3, you're going to look at communicating across differences, shifting your mindset. And when you think about shifting your mindset, let's come in and look at that here in the textbook. What is your willingness and ability to put yourself, your ideas, and your values aside to listen to somebody else? This time of year, we've got the political arena going on. Can you have a conversation with somebody who has a different political view than yours without getting mad, without doing your best to try to get them to see your point of view instead of just having a conversation about it? A lot of people can't do that. It's hard. So sometimes when you're communicating with somebody who thinks differently than you, they're from a different culture, different background than you are, it is harder to communicate, and sometimes the stakes are higher. And so sometimes you need to shift your mindset. You can't change how anybody else is thinking, what they're doing. All you can do is change your mindset, what you're looking at. I'm not asking you to change your culture. I'm not asking you to change your values. I'm asking you to acknowledge where you are and your willingness to listen, which we just looked at in chapter 2, to put yourself aside at times to have a conversation with somebody who thinks differently than you do. So a lot of times when you think of diversity, the first thing people think of is race and gender, but it is actually far more complex than that. And this chapter is great at talking about all of this. You've got skill sets, education, experience, your demographics, your age. I mean, all of that. Sorry about that. Your musical preferences. All of that. That's your identity. That's diversity. My granddaughter just started school at K-State, and she's from a farming community. She loves country western, and she is now going to school with a lot of kids from Kansas City, and they don't care a lot for country music. And she is learning that there's a lot of people out there that are different, and some of them aren't willing to even want to try to include her. And so it's causing her to shift her mindset a little bit, and it's taking her out of her comfort zone to be in this huge, diverse arena from that little farming community to this big world. So this is something that we need to do in business as well. Be able to shift and consider what we're doing when we're communicating with others. So self-awareness is key to this. So I love this part of the book. So that is shifting your mindset. How do you manage through conflict? If there are issues going on, how do you engage in those difficult conversations? How do you communicate to improve inclusiveness in your team? If you've got some team members that are fighting, that are from completely different backgrounds, how are you going to reach both sides and bring them together? You're not going to probably change their mindsets, but how can you bring them to look at whatever project you're working on and bring their skills to help that project be a success? So how can you do that? Communicate to improve inclusivity, and then adapting to international cultural differences. Our world is getting smaller all the time. How Do you deal with cultural differences? I know in our society, when we meet somebody, in the Midwest, it is important to do a firm handshake, not the fishy limp handshake, right? And to look someone in the eye directly. And that's even important when we do videos. We're supposed to look at the camera, or when we're in Zoom meetings, look at the camera, not at the person on our screen, but look at the camera that we're recording on. But in some cultures, it's considered rude to look somebody in the face. It's rude to shake their hands when you meet them. In some cultures, you're supposed to hug. Some cultures, you don't touch at all. So, how do you do that? How do you adapt to international cultures? So there's chapter closings in each one. Make sure you look through those. Look through the chapters, okay? Read through them, scroll down through them, pay attention to what is in boxes, pay attention to the figures that you see in the textbook. If something stands out to you, read it. Okay, so here, why am I judging? Do I have a preconceived notion? Is it based on my own experiences, my values? Is it because of my limited view of the world? That's something I had to face. I grew up in Derby, Kansas. I've never lived anywhere else. I didn't even leave Derby really till after I was 18. Didn't travel even to Wichita very often. I didn't even really start traveling the first time I went anywhere other than Missouri to Branson was when I was 16. We went to Denver. But it's only been in the last 20 years that I've really traveled. And in the last year that I've traveled internationally. And I love it. I absolutely love it. But that, I have had to face that about myself and recognize that and embrace it. So look at these when you're looking through these and apply them to yourself. How does it apply to you? What do you need to do different? So that's what I want you to do with the textbook. The other thing here in the chapters, you've got these flashcards. These flashcards are real important because they are going to look at the key terms in the chapters. Now, if you want to, look at these flashcards first, look through them, and then go to the chapter. These flashcards are going to cover the key terms that you're going to run across in the chapter. Just helps bring a little bit of that information to you. Now, I realize that you're probably not going to have time to read every single word in the textbook before you come down here, and you've got the Learn It quiz, the Apply It quiz, and the Practice quiz. Remember, these quizzes are all open book, and I know that goes against the grain for some of you. It's like, no, I've got to know it. I can't, that's cheating. It's using your resources. I want you to learn this information. I want you to understand about business communication. I want you to understand how teams and interpersonal communication work. I don't want you to just memorize this information and then just regurgitate it on a test. I want you to read about it, understand it, and if something really is interesting to you, write it down, get on the internet, and even research it some more. So this week, for week 2, you only have these 2 chapters, chapter 2 and chapter 3, and they are all due by August 31st by midnight, so make sure you get those done. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and work ahead. That's perfectly fine with me, so it's all right there. If you have any questions, reach out. Right over here in your class, you have mail somewhere. I never can find it. Oh, clear over here. You have your inbox. You can send me an email. I'm here for you. Just let me know if you have any questions. Have a great week. Hope you learned something about yourself as you're looking at this team and interpersonal communication and communicating across differences.